everyone, it's Sarah, and I'm super excited about today's video. This is washcloth number 2 in our 2020 Crochet Along washcloth of the month. Last month we did the checkered washcloth. This month we're doing the basket weave washcloth. It's a nice washcloth. It measures about 10 by 10. Depending on how tightly you stitch, it might be a little bigger or a little smaller. Either way, it's a great washcloth because the way that it's stitched up, it makes these ridges, and it doesn't matter because the front and the back are the same. Isn't that cool? Now I have 3 choices here. This one is made with cotton. Of course, they're all 3 made with cotton. This is 2 colors. This one is made just with your Caron cotton cake, and the tester that did this one just went right through it and used the yarn as it came out, and I really love it. This one is done with the solid white and a variegated. So you have lots of different ways that you can make our basket weave washcloth for February. Now, this is a free crochet pattern, as always, and you can find that link down in the notes underneath this video. To make the basket weave washcloth, you have some yarn options that you can use. This one here is made with Caron Cotton Cakes, which is a cotton blend. This one is made with alternating rows of this Sugar Wheel in Visions of Violet and the I Love This Cotton. Those are both from Hobby Lobby. And then this one is what we're going to do today, and it is made with beige and yellow, peaches and cream, 100% cotton. So you have lots of choices of what you want to do and lots of ways that you can do it. You can just do a solid as the colors change. You can do a variegated and a solid. You can do 2 solids, or you can just do it all in one color. So you have lots of color choices and lots of yarn choices for this washcloth. We're going to be stitching today with our H hook. This is a 5.0 millimeter crochet hook. You'll need a needle to weave those ends in and a pair of scissors. For today's demonstration, I'm going to be changing colors every 2 rows. And so I'm going to begin with my sort of brownish beige color and then have my yellow ready to go. Now, you don't have to stripe it every 2 rows if you don't want to. You can do it all solid, whatever you want to do for this washcloth. We're going to begin with our slip knot, and then we're going to chain 37 chains. And I do recommend that you chain this beginning chain just a little bit loose. I've chained my 37 chains, and now we're going to place a double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yarn over, go in the 4th chain, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, and go through the second 2. And now what we're going to do is place 1 double crochet in each of the chains across. Now, the first 3 chains counted as 1 double crochet. So make sure you count that one as well. Alright, so I'm going to continue stitching 1 double crochet in each of the chains across. I finished stitching 1 double crochet in each double crochet across. Our chain 3 at the beginning counted as 1, and so you should have a total of 35 double crochets. We're going to chain 3, and our chain 3 will count as our first double crochet on every row. Now we're going to begin our basket weave stitches. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to stitch 4 double crochet, front post double crochets. All right, our posts are the bottom portion of the stitches. Normally we stitch up here in the tops of them, but we're going to be going around the posts. Some of our stitches will be in the front and some of our stitches will be in the back. We're going to yarn over and we're going to go around the post on the front of the next double crochet. Our chain 3 will count as our first. Yarn over, go around, yarn over and pull that loop through, and then we just finish our double crochet like we usually do. We're stitching double crochets, we're just putting them in a different place. All right, so let's do 3 more. And the first row getting started is a little bit clumsy, so take your time and don't get frustrated. All right, so our chain 3 counted as our first, and then we stitched 4 front post double crochets. Now we're going to switch to back post and we're going to stitch 5 back post double crochets. Yarn over, we're going to go to the back of our work and go around that next post of the next stitch, working in the back. Pull, oops, and this is where it's a little bit clumsy. We want to go around, yarn over, and pull that loop through. We have 3 loops on our hook, just like we do with the regular double crochet. Yarn over, go through, yarn over, and go through, just like we do on a regular double crochet. Again, we're just putting them in the back posts and putting our double crochets in a different place. There's 2, 3, and I'm trying to go a little bit slow so you can see what I'm doing. I'm working on the back, going around the post, pulling up a loop, and finishing off my double crochet. All right, so there's 4, and I need to do 1 more in the back. All right, now the front, you'll see that you'll have these front posts. When we do the back posts, you'll have a ridge. All right, so we've done our chain 3 counted as our first double crochet, and then we did 4 front post double crochets, and now we did 5 back post double crochets. Now we're going to do 5 front post double crochets. So yarn over, go around that front post and stitch our double crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. There we go. Now we're going to do 5 back posts again. So yarn over, make sure you're in the right stitch. There we go. And we're going in the back posts again. And like I said, this first row is just a little bit clumsy, so take your time. Sometimes when I go around, I lose that loop and I have to grab it again. So we have 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, so I need to do 1 more because we want 5 back loops, 5 double crochets in the back posts, not loops, posts. And you can see how it's alternating every 5 stitches. All right, so now we're going to do the front posts again. 1, whoops, see, I do it too. 2, 3, 4, 5 front post double crochets. Now we're going to do 5 back posts again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And that leaves us 5 stitches for 5 front posts. 1, 2, 3, 4, and our last stitch is that beginning chain 3 and 5, and let me go ahead and chain 3, and I'll lay this out so you can see. Do this angle here so we can get it all in here. We have our chain 3 and then 4 front posts, 5 back posts, 5 front posts, 5 back posts, 5 front posts, 5 back, and 5 front posts. And that's how row 2 should look. If you're not changing colors, then go ahead and stitch that chain 3. But if you're changing colors, I'm going to take that chain 3 out. I'm going to leave this color attached, and then I'm going to bring in my second color, which is this yellow. Snug that down, and then chain 3. And the reason we do that is because our chain 3 counts as our first stitch on our next row. And if we would leave it the color of this, then we would have 1 stitch the wrong color on our next row. All right, let's go ahead and turn our work. And again, we're leaving our color 1 attached, and we're going to trail that up the side of our work. So our chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. So what we're going to do is we're going to stitch the next 4 stitches front post double crochets. So yarn over, go around the post of the stitch, and stitch our double crochets. We're stitching 4 because our chain 3 counts as our first stitch on this row. There we go. 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, now this brings us to the next 5 stitches, and we're going to stitch 1 back post in each of those 4 stitches. So we'll go around the back, pull our loop through, and finish our double crochet. And we'll do 5 back post double crochet stitches. Now this brings us to our next 5 stitches, and we're going to stitch 1 front post in each of those 5. So there's my 5 front post stitches. And then I'll repeat this in these last ones. I'll put back post in the next 5, front post in the next 5, back post, and front post. All right, here we go. There's my 5 back posts. Now I'm going to do the next 5 front posts. And now I'll repeat on these last 2 sections, 5 back posts and 5 front posts. I completed those last 2 sections, back posts and front posts. And you can see how it alternates every 5 stitches. I'm not changing colors, so I'm going to chain 3 and turn my work. Now, we're going to be doing our back posts first and then our front posts because we want this row to look like the last one. All right, so our chain 3 counts as our first, and so we're going to go and stitch in the back posts of the next 4. And these back posts are a little bit easier to find. And you'll see that you'll have this ridge and then you'll have a ridge there. All right, this brings us to the first 5 front posts, and we're going to stitch our front posts in these front posts. And see how that looks longer there? Because we have 2 sets of front posts, one from this row and one from this row. And this brings us to our next 5 stitches. And we're going to stitch back posts. So we'll go in the back and stitch back post double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right, so now we have that ridge again because we stitched back posts. And we'll continue this the rest of the way across. 5 front posts, 5 back posts, 5 front posts, and 5 back posts. I completed row 4, stitching front posts in the front post and back posts in the back post. And I'm changing colors because I'm changing colors every 2 rows. If you're not changing colors, go ahead and chain 3. If you're changing colors like I am, change to your color 1 and then chain 3, because remember, our chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. All right, so now I turned, and we want to do the opposite of what we were doing on these 2 rows. So we're going to begin with back posts and then put back posts in our front posts and front posts in our back post, working across. So yarn over, I'll go in the next stitch and start with my back post double crochets. One thing I have found when working with the basket weave stitch crochet pattern is that if you stitch it just slightly looser, it's a little bit easier to find your stitches and know where to put your stitches. Not to be too loose, but just loosen up just a smidge. It might help a little bit. All right, so I've stitched those back posts, and there's my chain 3 that counted as my first. And now I'm going to stitch 5 front post double crochets. One, two, three, 4, and 5. So I've stitched front posts in the back post from the previous row and back posts in the front posts of the previous row here. And so we're going to alternate that. I'm going to stitch one back post double crochet in each of those front posts. Whoops, there we go. Sometimes the yarn doesn't like to cooperate. All right, so there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 back posts in the front posts. And now I'm going to stitch 5 front posts, 1 in each of the next 5 back posts. And see how that looks? Now our ridges are over here instead of here, and our front posts are here instead of on this side. And so it's alternating the opposite of what we were doing. All right, let's finish up this row. One back post in these next 5 back posts. Where did that go? Sometimes it's a little tricky. There we go. Pull it through. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then I'll finish up the row with 5 front posts and 5 back posts. I completed row 5, back post, front posts, back posts, front posts, back post, front posts, back posts. Now we're going to turn, and I chained 3 because I'm not changing colors here. And what we're going to do is we're going to stitch a front post in the front post and a back post in the back post. That way we're still doing the same stitches, it's just facing the other direction. So we're chain 3 counted as our first, and now we're stitching 1 front post in the next 4. And this brings us to our next 5 back posts, so we're going to stitch 1 back post in each of those back posts. So this brings us to our next 5 front posts, and we're going to stitch 1 front post in each of those front posts. Here's 3. Whoops. There we go. All right, 4 and 5. And so what we're doing on this row is we're stitching front posts in the front posts and back posts in the back posts, working all the way across our row. I completed row 6. We've got front post, back post, front post, back post, front post, back post, and front post in sets of 5. I'm changing colors, so I changed to my color 2. If you're not changing colors, maybe you're doing it all in one color, then go ahead and do your chain 3. And what we're going to do is we're going to repeat rows 3 through 6, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and you're going to repeat that 3 more times. You'll do 2 like this one and 2 like this one 3 more times. And this will bring you up through row 18. So just to repeat, we're repeating rows 3 through 6 3 more times. So this brings us up through row 18, and you can see how the rows are alternated. You've got front posts and back posts, and it's really nice because it makes it so that it doesn't matter if it's the front or the back. It's going to be the same, and these nice ridges make it nice for using as a washcloth. All right, now we need to do row 19 and 20. I'm finishing off with my color 2, which is my yellow. So I brought in my yellow and I chained 3. There's only 2 there, so let me make another chain 3. And I'm going to turn my work. So we're going to do a front post double crochet, in the next 4 stitches, 2, 3, and 4. Oops, there we go. And we'll do back post on the next 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And we'll continue to repeat that across. 1 double crochet in the front post for the next 5 stitches. And 1 double crochet working in the back posts for the next 5 stitches. 1, 2, there we go, 3, 4, and 5. There we go. And we'll finish that on these last 3 sets working across. I completed row 19. Front, back, front, back, front, back, front. And I chain 3 because I'm not changing colors. And now we're going to do our last row. So I'm going to turn my work. And we're going to finish off with back posts in the back posts. So I'm stitching those 4 back posts because, again, our chain 3 counted as our first double crochet. And then I'm going to stitch front posts in these 5 front posts. And then we'll just repeat across 5 back posts, 5 front posts, 5 back posts, 5 front posts, and 5 back posts. And that will be row 20 and we'll be ready for our trim. So I've completed that last row, and we now have 20 rows with alternating front posts and back posts, so it's a nice scrubby washcloth. And the last thing we need to do is just put a basic single crochet trim around the edge. I'm going to start down this edge where I trailed my yarn across and show you how to do that. I have two different yarns attached, and so I need to decide which one I want for my trim. And since I ended with my yellow, I'm going to keep that as my trim, and I'll go ahead and just cut off the beige yarn. So that one's out of the way. All right, now what we're going to do, I'm going to start with the chain 1 just to get me where I want to be, and I'm going to evenly single crochet down this edge. Now there isn't any set amount of stitches. You just have to eyeball how you want it to look. What I try to do is put my stitches in the sides of the stitches and not the holes. Now sometimes you might have to put it in a hole if you don't have a place to put it, but I like to try to get it in the stitches and not the holes. So I'm just going to stitch down the side, stitching single crochets. And I'm going to stitch over this yarn where I cut it off, as well as over all the yarn that I trailed down. And so I'll just do my stitches right over those yarns. And this will tidy it up and keep those stitches where they need to be. All right, I'm going to go ahead and cut this because I've already stitched over it enough, I think, to keep that down. That way you can see where I'm stitching over this trailed yarn. Let's move this beige out of the way because it's getting caught. There we go. All right, so I'm going to go in the sides of the stitches and stitch over those yarns that I've trailed across, trying to go in the sides of the stitches. Now, if you did your washcloth all in one color, you don't have to worry about these stitches that we trailed across the side. All right. There we go. Just work it in there. Try your best to cover up those stitches. And so what I'm going to continue to do is work single crochets down to this corner, and then I'm going to place 2 single crochets in this corner. I've evenly single crocheted down the first side, and I'm to the first corner. And what I do is I put 2 single crochets right in that corner, and then I just move around the corner. And by putting those 2 in there, and sometimes people do like to put 3, and if you want to put 3 single crochets in there, that's totally fine. But by putting those 2 in there, as you can see, it helps move the corner around nice and neatly. And so I'm going to continue just stitching single crochets, working the last 3 sides, and then meet back up where I started over here. And then we'll be finished. So, just stitching a basic, even single crochet around all 4 sides of your washcloth, placing 2 single crochets in each of those corners. I've single crocheted on all 4 sides of my washcloth and across the top, placing 2 single crochets in each of the 4 corners. And here I am where we started, and I'm going to join with a slip stitch and cut my yarn. Bring that loop in and tie off. And one thing also that I did is any of my ends that needed to be tidied up, instead of weaving them in, I went ahead and stitched over them. And so the only one I have to weave in is this one. And one thing about cotton yarn is that it is a little more difficult to get on your needle. So I try to flatten it out like that and get it on the needle. And then I'm going to go ahead and just weave that in. And my washcloth will be all ready to do some cleaning. And that's how you crochet a basket weave washcloth, whether you want to do 2 colors, variegated and solid, or solids, or however you want to make your washcloth. This is a super fun pattern.